You are listening to the Showbiz Side Hustle podcast, powered by PerformerPreneur. I am your host here, Nicole Louise Geddes, and together we'll be delving into all of the ways that a showbiz side hustle can support you now and long into the future. So sit back, relax, and listen in, and together let's get inspired to take action to create the life, future, and business of your dreams. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Showbiz Side Hustle podcast. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the devastating fires that have been impacting Los Angeles and the surrounding areas. Our hearts go out to everyone affected, the families who have lost their homes, the firefighters who are bravely working to contain the flames, and the entire community navigating these challenging times. Today's episode was recorded before these events unfolded. Our guest Lisa is a member of the LA entertainment industry, and she's here to share incredible insights and stories that we hope will provide a bit of inspiration and some light relief in this moment of difficult times. If you're looking for ways to help, we've included links to reputable organisations where you can donate and support relief efforts in the show notes below. Every little bit counts, and your generosity can make a real difference. Also, head over to Lisa's Instagram account, Lisa RubyLemon, where she is donating profits of all of the money she makes in January to the entertainment industry and the people needing it the most. Enjoy the show. Today we are back round to an expert interview session. So I'd love to welcome Lisa to the stage. Thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us today on our podcast to talk about scaling businesses, growing businesses, reviewing and reflecting on our progress, and also within your world, that big overseas move and how that has impacted business as well. So loads of exciting things to talk about. And I also know that many of my listeners will know you as the founder and owner of RubyLemon. RubyLemon. Said it then.
RubyLemon. My name's not Ruby before anyone thinks my name is Ruby.
It was one of those moments. I was like, so introduce yourself, Lisa, because I did that very badly then. But you are a wonderful industry professional that I know my listeners will recognize the name of. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your businesses, and those moments that people will remember in your entrepreneurship journey.
Of course. So I am Lisa, and I am an events and entertainment entrepreneur. So I am the founder of two companies that a lot of people will probably have heard of. Firstly, RubyLemon, as we just said, and also Invasion Angels, a nightlife entertainment company as well. I am originally from Newcastle, and now I am based here in Los Angeles.
That is the exciting bit, because when we are talking about scaling and growing, over the course of the episodes, I'm introducing performers, entrepreneurs, performerpreneurs to the idea of starting up side hustles, starting up small businesses to support their entertainment career, which is why I know they'll recognize you and your business names, because it's our world. That's where we're at. That's what we're doing. And what I'm encouraging the listeners to do is to start something for themselves to support that industry career, because you and I both know that there's highs and there's lows. But when we've got to episode 27, I'm kind of saying to the listeners, look, I've given you all of this foundational stuff, but I want to introduce you to the fact that this can grow. Like, you can scale it. It can start small, but where the hell do you want it to go? And it's that piece that I just thought you are the perfect person, because we can relate to you and your business. We know who you are. We know what you do. But we now have that kind of very real visual of you moving across to LA and expanding over there. So, I mean, there's loads we could talk about, but should we go there? Like, where and when did that happen and why?
Okay, so let's go to the pandemic, which I think was pivotal to me moving. And I think for most people, it is pivotal to a career change or looking at other opportunities. So mid-pandemic, I decided I am going to move to Dubai and I'm going to become a yoga teacher. I had several businesses in the events industry that were closed, had no work. So I was like, okay, I've never had an opportunity to travel. So I wanted to take that opportunity then to do something different, learn something new. I didn't know if I planned to go into a route of starting a business with yoga. That's still pending as well, but wanted to try something new. So moved to Dubai, from there, I very quickly realized that I wanted to continue to move away from the UK. So I met my partner in Dubai. He is from New York. So I started to come over to the US and spend time over here. And then I thought, there is so much opportunity here. I want to open a business in America. I had no idea how I was going to make it happen. I had no idea of the process, but I was like, this is what I'm doing. I am going to learn the process as I go and figure out how I can move there.
Oh my goodness. This aligns so much with what I've been saying to the listeners, to my members, to the performerpreneurs that I work with on a one-to-one basis or in the group programs. And the bit that's just really stood out is that bit about learning as you go. I've had a past episode, Lisa, that literally says the same thing. Like, wouldn't it be amazing if we knew everything we needed to know? But actually, the fact of the matter is we don't. And so don't let the lack of knowledge stop us from moving and going in the direction we want to go. So I love that you've said that, because and I think that that's a skill that the entertainment industry has on a whole. Like, really, you guys listening, if you are in the entertainment industry, you are able to just get on and do and learn as we go and put a smile on and make it work and make it happen with that kind of very dedicated mindset that you will do the work that's needed of you as well. So I love that you've said that, and I love that that was the same for you as for me. Like, that, just, I know what I want, I'm gonna get there, and I'll learn as I go. So the travel element, I mean, we can all relate to that as well. The world's a crazy place, and you know, to be able to up sticks and move and go experience new places. I mean, I'm here in Oman, you're there in LA. I absolutely wholeheartedly think that, you know, the world needs exploring, and there's experiences to be had in every place. So this is all amazing to me, because again, we're trying to encourage people to think outside the box, to take a leap of faith. And you have done that. So you didn't necessarily know what that business was going to be. You didn't necessarily know how you were going to achieve what you wanted to achieve. But you're absolutely doing it. How long have you been out there? What did the business end up becoming? And let's start there.
Sure. So I originally moved out about 2 years ago to San Francisco. I lived in San Francisco for 1.5 years. And then 3 months ago, I moved to Los Angeles. I always had this idea from being a child that if you move out of Newcastle, you go to Los Angeles. That's the place where you have done it. So I was like, okay, I've got to San Francisco. Somehow I'm going to LA, and this is what I'm doing. So moved over here 3 months ago, still have clients in San Francisco as well. And then we have created an entertainment and an event staffing company over here. When I arrived, I'd always had 2 companies that did staffing and entertainment, but I wasn't sure where it was going to land here. When I got here, I realized there was a huge need for event staff. So I kind of went down that path for the first 1.5 years, 2 years primarily. And then now I've started to focus more on the entertainment side as well as the event staffing.
But both of those businesses stem from, you know, a niche that you already know. So that's a great thing for the listeners to understand. You know, we can be and do anything, but actually you will have some superpowers within a niche that you feel that you can, you know, grab hold of and run with, that you feel you're an expert in. And that was you. That's you've landed over there, you're in a different part of the world, but you still very much have the skills that you left the UK with. So it's just transitioning them over to a different country, potentially probably, you know, with my experience in Oman, to a different kind of mindset of people in different countries. They, you know, but the bottom line is your expertise was translatable over to the US, correct?
100%. I have taken everything that I've learned to this point, moved it somewhere different, found there was a whole other set of skills that I needed to learn in this country. But because I've done it previously and I already had a set of skills, it was just a case of learning those new things. For example, taxes in the US is a whole different ballgame to the UK. But it just takes a few hours or a few days to sit down and gather all the information that I needed, then be like, okay, now I know how to do that. Or I can go to an expert who's going to show me how to fill the gaps in knowledge that I don't have. And then I can just continue doing what I know and keep adding new things in that I haven't learned, learning them, doing the next thing, and then just growing as I go. I'm not trying to climb the mountain in one day. It's like one step at a time that I needed to do.
Absolutely. And you're doing it so beautifully and swiftly. Like, I'm watching your business fly over there. But like you say, it's because you are absolutely committed and dedicated to learning what you need to know. And that's what, you and I both know. We've worked together. We know each other. That's what I'm doing for the Performerpreneurs. If you need information, come and find it. But there's other people with other skill sets and other things I think the pandemic shifted a lot of people into this I don't know what the word is, this version of themselves that is just a bit more willing to share. Yeah. So we've all been for so long, doing our thing, but actually the pandemic opened many of our eyes to being like, look, this is what I know. And it's not exclusive to me. And if you want that knowledge and you want that information, I will share it with you. And I know you're open to doing that too. So the world's a massively different place for the next few people that are jumping into the entrepreneurial space. Like, people are willing to share their experiences and help as you go. And so like you say, you've tapped into people to make sure that they're supporting you. So how do you review and reflect? That's a mouthful. Review and reflect your growth. Like, you're saying you're taking it in stages and steps. I'm sure you've had a big vision. And so I've spoke about success markers in previous episodes. Like, what do you count as success? How do you review and base that growth? Like, where do you start and where do you go?
I love that question. I think it's really hard as someone who is very motivated and very driven to review where you're at, because the next goal is always so big that you always feel like you're not getting there. But I think over the past year, 6 months, I've kind of spent some time thinking, what is success to me and what have I achieved, rather than what is the next thing that I need to achieve. And I actually heard someone say, don't remember where I heard it, but the other day someone said, the problem is you're looking at your life in days, weeks, or months rather than 10 years. So then if I think of my year in a 10-year chunk and I look back over 10 years, I have done all kinds. 10 years ago, I was living in Manchester, figuring it out. And then now I'm here. So I think it's looking at it over a longer period of time rather than saying, what did I achieve in the past week? Or what have I succeeded in the past 6 months? I think when I look back and think long term, I can see the growth further than if I look short term.
That's really enlightening. And actually, I've just had like a ping of like, oh my goodness, you're absolutely right. Where have you come from in the past 10 years? I mean, goodness me, nobody has stood still. Like, nobody has. It's impossible for anybody to reflect and say they haven't achieved anything in that longer period of time. So I think it's a great piece of advice, a great tip. And I want my listeners to go away and think about exactly that. And then, think about how far you can go in the next 10 years, just reviewing and reflecting what you've achieved in the past 10 years. That should open your eyes to absolutely all the possibilities. And using those superpowers, that tenacity and understanding where it's got you will absolutely propel you to keep going. So that's a great bit of advice. I'm really grateful for that. And I know the listeners will be too. So RubyLemon, is that still happening in the UK? Is this the business in the US, or is it, same but different, or how's it panned out?
Yeah. So we have RubyLemon in the US. It's a completely separate company, but we use the same company name and the same branding. RubyLemon in the UK is currently going through, in general, we are currently going through a transition. So I have had a business partner for the past 12 years. I'm sure most people listening will also know her as well. she is very, very prominent in the industry. She was actually a performer when she first started. So we have worked together since I was 21. So a very long time to have a business partnership. Because of the changes that have happened, kind of moving overseas, my biggest struggle is time difference. And I'm sure you probably find the exact same thing. The time difference is so, so challenging. And also, kind of working styles are so different. We have decided that we are going to part ways with two of our businesses, and we still own one business together. So there's a lot of transition happening. So I'm no longer part of the UK RubyLemon business. I am going to be focusing on the US business, and my business partner is going to be continuing entertainment in the UK, and then we have other companies together, but we're just going through a transition and making things work for both of us. We were very different people to when I was 21, and I'm sure everyone can resonate with that. You're not the same person you were when you first start something. So we are just currently in that transition, and I'm focusing on the US and all things over here. The market is so big. So I wanted to be able to really hone in and focus on one area rather than spreading myself so thin.
That's really open and honest of you, and I'm thankful for that. You did not need to explain yourself, but in the terms of what we're talking about, scale and growth, I think it's really necessary for our listeners to know that about you and the businesses, because in my eyes as an entrepreneur, that is integral, that self-awareness, that communication between you and a business partner, and two countries, two time zones. To be able to scale and grow, you have had to adapt. You've had to have very honest and vulnerable conversations, I'm sure, and you've had to make changes. And so many people do not dare to make a change. They don't dare to evolve, be it a small side hustle or a performing career that they want to, pivot away from, or a big business that they want to, adapt and grow. There has to be an element of curiosity, vulnerability, adaptability. And I think by you expressing and sharing that story with us, I think it just reminds people that it is not a very straight route and direction to success. There's going to be highs and lows and things and conversations that you need to have to scale and grow. So in terms of scaling and growing, I think you and I both know, and Holly as well, that will allow you both to grow in the ways that you as individuals want to, and in the ways the businesses can and will and should in their separate time zones and separate countries. So I applaud you, and I know that it won't have come easy at all for either of you. And how, talking about that, then how free is not the right word, because that's kind of feels quite rude, but how free do you feel to just do your own thing? And what's the word I'm looking for? How liberated. And obviously you understand what I'm trying to say, and I'm hopefully the listeners do as well. But yeah, how does that made you feel? I feel liberated for you, because I know how difficult it is to work in partnership when you have different time zones, aspirations, working styles, people.
Yeah, I think Holly probably feels more free of me than any other, and she would say that too. So my working style, I'm very type A. I am very like, get up at 6 a.m., start work, do this, do that. I'm so structured. I love a structure. I love things to be in a system. I want to automate everything. I want to do everything like that. And Holly is more of a creative. She's more free spirit and more relaxed than I am. So and when we were together, these two working styles kind of worked really well together and complemented each other. That's the word I'm looking for. When we have put an ocean between us, it's very difficult for things to complement each other when there's a big ocean in between. And I like an answer instantly. You can't get an answer instantly with a time zone. It's not possible. So I feel free in a sense of I have some more time to focus on one thing, rather than in the back of my mind, it was always, there's a whole other company in a different country that you have to think of. at the same time as thinking about here. So I feel like my capacity has been freed up to think about other things and other opportunities that I want here and how I want to grow now. I don't feel free of Holly. Holly will always be in my life. We'll always work together, and we will always be best friends as well. That's something we'll always have. But I definitely feel from a professional standpoint that I can see the growth that I want and where I want to head with my business and operate things in the way that I want to operate. And yeah, it's a challenging time, but it's new, and it's something different to navigate, and it's a new challenge, I think.
I love that. No, you're absolutely right. And of course, you're never going to be free of Holly. Friends are for life. But business is business. And you have both made that decision. And like you say, you've got this capacity, you've got the excitement, and you've got this new version of RubyLemon in the States to really get your teeth into. So I'm excited to see what happens for you as well. The thing that I'm next thinking about in terms of scaling and growing businesses, and you all have a thought on this, and hopefully maybe an experience, outsourcing. So you alluded there that you're quite in control, that you like to have everything in place, you've got your systems and your processes. Do you outsource?
Yeah, I will outsource as much as I can. As long as I know that it's being done in the way that I want it to be done or by an expert, I am happy for that. I only have so much capacity. Everyone does. There's only so much you can do in a day. So if there's things that I am not an expert in, or someone can do better than me, or it's going to free up my time to do something else, then I will always outsource things to other people.
Brilliant, because so many of us, as you'll know, and you probably felt the same at the beginning of your businesses, they're very heart-led, they're very personal. You know, you want to do everything yourself, but it's absolutely impossible. So I'm glad you're kind of just reiterating some of the things that I'm trying to tell my listeners, trying to tell my clients. Like, eventually you need to be outsourcing these things because that is how you grow. So what are your top tips for scaling and growing? Is there anything you think that I and my listeners should think about to navigate that growth, to speed up the growth? What are your thoughts?
I have always had, all the way through business, like a North Star company that's way ahead of me. And I have looked at them for inspiration, for ideas. It's not that I'm trying to create a cookie cutter business of what they do, but it inspires you to say, okay, if they can do it, so can I. I just need to bridge the gap between me and them and find the knowledge points that they have that I don't have yet. So I think having someone, or it can be people you've never even met, someone you just don't even know, or like a company you've never worked with or don't know anything about, but you can see them, you can see their website, see all the things they do, find the person who owns the company, learn from them, and just having something ahead of you is what keeps me able to see the future. I think everyone should have someone who, I'm not going to tell you who mine is, but yeah.
Oh, I'm intrigued now. I also have, businesses and people ahead of me that I aspire to be like, and to even surround myself with. I'll work my way into, that sounds terrible, but I'll work my way into circles and seats around tables that are going to inspire me, that are going to push me to keep going. And so you are equally doing that too. So maybe one of the actions we ask the listeners to do is to pinpoint who that, and I love the North Star analogy. I love that. To pinpoint who your North Star business or entrepreneur or even performer is that you can aspire to. And like you say, it's not about copying. It's not about competing. It's about inspiring. And, if you get to that point, it's then about collaborating. It's I think in our industry, Lisa, you'll agree, I'm sure, it's very competitive. It always has been. It's very closed, and people aren't willing to share information. They don't want you to succeed, or at least that's how it feels like. And people like you and me are pushing those boundaries and trying to shine a light on the fact that it doesn't have to be that way. You can succeed in your industry, in your side hustle, in your profession, in your performing career, by being collaborative, by being, you know, open and honest and vulnerable and visible. And so I think you and I are both doing that very, very well. And there's some big players in our industry that are equally starting to do that too. So I really celebrate that. So finding a North Star is an action. I feel like that could be the tagline of the episode. Find your
Yeah, I
North
love that.
Star to scale and grow to your success. Over the years, and we're going to end around here, well, we might not, we might carry on, but I think it'd be a nice place to end. Over the years, has success changed for you in terms of what you, I know we touched on it, what you believe it to be, and are you able to share the differences? I know that over the years, and as I've grown and business has grown, it's so different to what I thought it was going to be, that success element. Where were you and where you're at in terms of where you're heading?
So I started the company when I was 21. I was so young. So my idea of success at that point, how do we even pick success at 21? You think it's going to be this certain turnover or this revenue or like all of the monetary things that I thought was what made a business successful. Now it's not about that. It's about having the finances to enable me to live a lifestyle in the way that I want, not for it to be what you see on social media. I started at a time when there wasn't, well, there was a little bit of social media, but not where you see people with cars and clothes and all of the things that you can get caught up thinking that owning a business means you have these things. Owning a business does not mean that you want or need all of the external things. So for success for me now is how I manage my team, who the members of my team are, what changes can I make for them, how can I keep growing, how can I keep learning. It's none of it's about the externals anymore. It's all about the internals of what I'm learning and how I'm able to improve things for everyone within the organization that I'm running.
Such a visionary. I love that. And that is growth on a human level. You know, we're talking about scaling and growing businesses, but to grow as people, as humans, as business owners, as leaders, you know, as employers, I think you're absolutely right. We have to keep growing on all levels. And that plane is so important because that's what keeps a business going. You know, nobody wants to work for somebody that's just all about bringing in the cash. And obviously you need the cash flow, you need the revenue, and you need the profit. But it's about the community that you're creating within that business, be that clients or performers or employees. And I speak a lot about community. I think community is massively underrated. I think it's an absolute necessity to success. Surround yourself by growing as people and understanding the values and the community aspect of a business, you're going to keep flying. I absolutely know you will, because you like me, like many listeners, we've grown past that kind of very superficial entrepreneur mindset and scaling into successful humans. So I'd love people to listen and be like, I aspire to be an entrepreneur, a performerpreneur, but a successful human, because I think that's the bit when you've got the balance right and you've got the people around you that understand. And I think we can all look back, listeners, you, I, everybody, look back and see a version of us that's not a version of a human that we want to be. And so that growth
100%.
element is really important on those levels too. Lisa, if I was to ask you what kind of little legacy you wanted to leave behind on this podcast, what's your nugget of kind of gold that you think everybody that's starting a business, because there'll be people that are on scaling already, and absolutely, and I'm there to support them, and I know people listening will be scaling, because those people that scale want to hear all of the things from all of the people, like you said. But there are people that are just starting out as well. So, I mean, which audience are you drawn to telling your gold to, or have you got a nugget for both? And how would you like to leave this podcast with a little bit of a Lisa legacy?
Cool. So I think this applies to both sides, that And this is something I always got from my parents, because I was allowed to try anything once. And then if it didn't work out for me, there was no judgment. It was fine. If I went horse riding and I was terrible at it, so what? You don't go back the next week. You didn't like it? Great, do the next thing. I think there is so much pressure to not change and stay the same. Or if you try something and it doesn't work, to say it failed, I can't do it again, or I should stick with it while it's failing. I think you can change at any point. You can have a business for 10 years and say, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do something different. I have started so many things over the years that just haven't worked. And every time you try something, you learn something. But if you never try, or you stick with something that isn't working and never just, like, pivoting's fine. Like, it's absolutely fine to do something and then change and do something different. So I think just be open to change is my one piece of advice that I'd give everyone.
Absolutely. That's what Performerpreneur is all about. There's too many people that are stuck in the entertainment industry because it's all we've ever known. It's all we've ever done. Our parents paid so much money to get us through dance classes and college, and we still haven't hit the success markers in the industry. So we've got to keep going till we do. I, like you, just kind of washed my hands of it when I was ready to, and it's a big leap and it feels very vulnerable and you think you're going to get judged. But yes, I 100% agree. Then I started something new and have never been happier. And then again in the pandemic started Performerpreneur and never been happier. So just keep evolving, growing, and never be afraid to try something new. There's been fabulous nuggets in this episode, from knowledge gaps and just pushing through and getting on with it and learn as you go, to that North Star that I absolutely hope everybody will start to think about who that is for them and what they can do and where they can find them and how they can get to where they want to be. And then ending with that beautiful piece just then about, not being afraid to stop and start something new. Lisa, I know that my listeners are going to want to have a little nose about what you're doing over in the US. So please do let us know now all the places we can find you. I'll drop them in the show notes, and we'll keep an eye on your success.
Of course. So if you want to find me on Instagram, it's RubyLemon _ and then on all social medias as RubyLemon, and you'll find it right there. If anyone wants to connect with me personally, you can do that on LinkedIn or on Instagram as well. It's Lisa RubyLemon.
Lisa RubyLemon. Awesome. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. I'm 8 p.m. now in Oman. You're what, 8 a.m. in LA? Yeah. Around about
9:30. So big difference. I'm getting up.
And I'm really grateful for you taking some time out of your busy and structured day to spend some time with us on the podcast. Lisa, it's been a pleasure. Good luck with everything you're doing, and I will speak to you personally soon, and I'll let you know when the podcast goes live for the listeners to come and give you a little click and a review. Okay, guys, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you for joining me here on the Showbiz Side Hustle podcast. So until next time, please do take a little bit of action, that very first step, and make sure that you are doing something for you and your Showbiz side hustle this week to move you forward and get you heading quickly and swiftly and strategically towards success.